Jimmy Haslam wanted a star. Kevin Stefanski gave him a veteran. And now, Stefanski's out of job, fired for refusing to start rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders over Joe Flacco. This wasn't a slow burn controversy. It was a detonation. A direct clash between ownership's obsession with optics and a head coach trying to manage a volatile quarterback room. Sanders wasn't just a backup. He was a marketing weapon, a fan magnet, a symbol of change. And Haslam wanted him on that field now. But Stefanski wouldn't play ball. He stuck with Flacco, the definition of safe and steady. And in Cleveland, where every quarterback is either a savior or a scapegoat, that wasn't enough.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Haslam didn't see wins. He saw headlines. And Stefanski stood in the way. The Browns' quarterback history is a horror anthology. From Tim Couch to Baker Mayfield to the Watson debacle, it's been a carousel of mediocrity and misfires. Sanders represented something new, flashy, young, hopeful, but instead of a strategic rollout, the franchise turned it into a turf war. And now, the coach is gone, the locker room is tense, and the fans are seething. The media, predictably, pounced. National pundits mocked the dysfunction. Local radio torched Stefanski for playing it too safe. Chants for Sanders echoed in the stadium. It wasn't just a QB decision. It was a referendum on everything the Browns represent: impatience, chaos, and wasted potential. Behind closed doors, the tension had been simmering. Haslam, known for his hands-on meddling, made it clear he wanted Sanders under center. Stefanski refused, not out of spite, but out of strategy. Sanders had looked solid in preseason, sure, but throwing him into a high-pressure season midstream, behind a shaky offensive line, wasn't the move. Stefanski knew that. Haslam didn't care. So now it's official. Another coach ousted mid-rebuild. Another quarterback thrust into the spotlight under maximum pressure. And another chapter in Cleveland's endless cycle of hope, hype, and hard resets. The Browns aren't building a team. They're chasing moments. And it's killing them. Shedeur Sanders might be great. Or not. But now he's debuting under fire, with the entire franchise teetering on dysfunction. And that's the real story. Not just a coach fired, but a culture that never learns. The Browns didn't just fire Kevin Stefanski. They threw gasoline on the one thing they've never been able to fix, the quarterback position, and lit the match. Kevin Stefanski is out. Fired. Not for tanking a season, not for losing the locker room, and not for collapsing in a playoff race. He was fired because he refused to obey an ultimatum from owner Jimmy Haslam. Start Shedeur Sanders, or you're done. And Stefanski chose football logic over billionaire ego. That choice ended his time in Cleveland. Let's not sugarcoat what this really was. This wasn't about play calling, record, or locker room dynamics. This was a power move. Ownership versus coaching. And once again in Cleveland, the people making football decisions weren't the ones wearing the headsets on Sunday. The Browns are living out the same nightmare they've been stuck in for 2 decades. A revolving door of quarterbacks. A carousel of coaching hires. A fan base begging for stability while the front office treats the team like a vanity project. Only this time, it's even more blatant. Jimmy Haslam didn't just hint or nudge. He demanded that his rookie quarterback be put on the field, not based on readiness, not based on performance, based on optics. Let's rewind for context. Shedeur Sanders had a standout college career. Then in preseason, he showed up. He looked polished, comfortable, explosive. The kind of player who, under normal circumstances, would be gradually developed with a clear timeline and support system. But this is Cleveland, and normal has never been part of the playbook. Instead of building a long-term plan around Sanders, the Browns defaulted to Joe Flacco, a veteran presence, a known quantity, safe. But Flacco, while serviceable, was never going to ignite the fan base or signal a new era. He was a placeholder, and everyone knew it. The stadium made it clear. Fans were chanting for Sanders, booing Flacco, tuning out the same old Cleveland storyline. And that pressure? It didn't come just from the bleachers. It started at the top. Jimmy Haslam didn't want to wait. He didn't want to develop Sanders. He wanted to debut him, showcase him, push the narrative that Cleveland had its savior, and that ownership was a genius who found him. But when Stefanski refused to play along, when he insisted on sticking with the veteran until the timing made sense, he signed his own walking papers. It's hard to overstate how dangerous that is for a franchise, because once ownership starts picking starters, what's left for the coaching staff to control? Game plans? Personnel rotations? Clock management? When the core decision, who lead the offense, is dictated from the owner's box, then nothing else matters. This wasn't Stefanski being stubborn. It was Stefanski trying to protect the process. Develop the kid. Get him ready. Avoid throwing him into a pressure cooker surrounded by a fractured organization and a divided locker room. But Haslam didn't care about development. He wanted the headline. And now, Stefanski's gone. And the Browns are once again in crisis mode. This isn't just about one firing. This is a symptom of a much deeper problem. A toxic culture that values quick hits over long-term growth. That prioritizes public perception over locker room chemistry. That sees football not as a game of inches, but as a game of impressions. And now Shedeur Sanders is caught in the middle. The Browns have spent years cycling through quarterbacks, torching careers, and leaving fans with little more than broken jerseys and broken spirits. Sanders, with all his potential and promise, could have been a turning point. But instead of protecting him, building around him, and letting him grow into the role, they've made him a pawn in a PR stunt. A symbol of chaos rather than a foundation for the future. Let's be clear. Sanders deserves to play. Eventually. He's talented. He's shown flashes. And if managed correctly, he could be the quarterback this team has been searching for since the late 1990s. But the way this is unfolding, it's setting him up to fail. How do you thrive when your starting job is tied to a power play? When your debut is overshadowed by a scandal? When half the team is questioning the decision, and the other half is just trying to survive the headlines? And what about the next head coach? Who's signing up to lead this team knowing that any disagreement with ownership could end in immediate termination? What respectable coordinator is raising their hand for this job when they've just watched their predecessor get fired for coaching with integrity? This is how you lose talent, not just at quarterback, but across the board. Players, staff, even future free agents, they all see what's happening. They see the instability, the ego, the refusal to let football minds run a football team. And it makes the Browns toxic. Let's not forget, the fans have been screaming for change for years. They watched the team with real potential implode over and over again. They watched promising players come and go. They watched stars walk away, fed up with the dysfunction. And now, they're watching history repeat itself in real time. The chants for Sanders weren't just about hope. They were about desperation, about needing something, anything, to believe in. But instead of answering those chants with a clear plan, the Browns answered with drama, with scapegoating, with another firing. And now the media is back on the attack. Talk shows, podcasts, analysts, everyone's piling on. The Browns are once again the punchline, the what not to do case study in every sports management course. They had a moment to break the cycle. Instead, they leaned into it. So what happens next? Shedeur Sanders is likely going to start. Whether he's ready or not, the pressure will be enormous. Every snap will be analyzed. Every misstep will be amplified. And if he struggles, even for a game, questions will resurface. Was this too soon? Was Stefanski right? Was this just another Cleveland disaster in the making? And what if Sanders plays well? What if he rises above the chaos and gives the fans a reason to hope? It still won't fix the damage done behind the scenes. Because the problem isn't just who's starting. It's how those decisions are being made. It's the culture. Until that changes, it doesn't matter who's under center. Cleveland has a long, painful history of quarterback mismanagement. Draft picks wasted, talent ignored, coaches fired midstream. And now it's happening again, but with even more scrutiny. The Browns are at a crossroads. They can let this chaos define them yet again, or they can take a long, honest look in the mirror and fix the rot. Stop making football decisions based on ego. Stop undermining the people you hire to lead. Start valuing development over drama. Because this isn't just about one season. This is about the future of a franchise that keeps burning down its own foundation every time it sees a new shiny brick. So let's talk. Was Kevin Stefanski wrong to stand his ground? Or did he make the right call in refusing to be a puppet? Should Shedeur Sanders start right now? Or has Cleveland already set him up to fail? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's hear what you would have done if you were running this team. And hey, hit that subscribe button. Because if the Browns don't stop imploding, we'll be right here breaking down every twist, turn, and front office facepalm. Stay tuned. This saga is far from over. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns' real legacy for a moment. Not the one they sell in hype videos or media days, but the one everyone else sees. For over 20 years, this franchise has been stuck in a Groundhog Day loop of quarterback drama, coaching turnover, and front office resets disguised as fresh starts. Every few seasons, there's a new face under center, a new coach holding the clipboard, and a new message to the fans. This time it's different, but it never is. Because every time there's a spark of hope, every time the team stumbles upon a promising draft pick or a solid play caller, it gets swallowed whole by a front office that can't stay out of its own way. And now, they've made Shedeur Sanders the centerpiece of their latest experiment in dysfunction. Let's be crystal clear here. Sanders didn't ask to be at the center of a controversy. He didn't start the power struggle that got Kevin Stefanski fired. All he did was perform. He played well in college, impressed in the preseason, and did everything a rookie is supposed to do. But instead of letting the kid grow and putting him in a position to succeed, the Browns fast-tracked him into the middle of a franchise identity crisis. And now, Sanders doesn't just have to be good. He has to be flawless. Because if he struggles, even a little, every single person who supports Stefanski will say, "Told you so." Every talking head will go back to their favorite Cleveland narrative. Chaos disguised as strategy. That's not development. That's a setup. Shedeur's success shouldn't be tied to a firing. It shouldn't come at the cost of organizational trust. But now, no matter what happens on the field, his performance is a referendum on something bigger. That's the weight of the situation he's walking into. And it's not just unfair, it's dangerous. You don't throw a rookie quarterback into a locker room that's reeling from a power shift and expect him to thrive. You don't surround a young talent with internal conflict, public scrutiny, and unstable leadership and hope it all just works out. Yet, that's exactly what Cleveland's doing. Again, and the sad thing? It didn't have to go down like this. Stefanski wasn't refusing to play Sanders because he didn't believe in him. He was protecting him. He understood what every successful coach knows. Timing matters. Development is a process. There's a reason the league is littered with names of rookie QBs who were forced into the spotlight too soon and never recovered. But when Haslam saw the preseason buzz, when the fans started chanting, when the media started asking questions, he saw an opportunity. And instead of playing the long game, he played the headline. And now the Browns are left with a fractured team, a rookie under immense pressure and no head coach. Think about that. No coach, no continuity. No clear plan. Just a quarterback who was supposed to represent the future being treated like a shortcut to relevance. This is how organizations fail. Not because they don't have talent. Not because they can't win. But because they can't stop getting in their own way. It's not just mismanagement. It's identity-level dysfunction. Because the Browns have a culture problem. It's not just one decision. It's decades of them. From botched drafts to hiring yes-men to chasing headlines over building systems, Cleveland has built its reputation not on what it wins, but on how it unravels. And this latest chapter is just more the same. Let's not forget how the locker room sees this. Players want to play for coaches who fight for them, who have a plan, who lead. And when that leadership gets yanked out from under them because the owner wants a different quarterback under center, that sends a message. The message is, it doesn't matter what you do on the field. What matters is who's pulling the strings upstairs. How do you build trust like that? How do you get free agents to come into that environment and buy in? How do you ask players to grind every week, to give everything they've got, when they know the guy calling plays might be gone the second he disagrees with the owner. This isn't just a football problem. It's a leadership vacuum. And Shedeur Sanders, as talented as he is, can't fix that by himself. And here's the most Cleveland twist of all. This could have worked. If they had just stuck to a plan, develop Sanders behind a veteran, give him meaningful snaps, build the offense around his strengths, hire coaches who actually get to make decisions, the Browns would be turning a corner right now. They could be building something real. But instead, they nuke stability. Again, it's always next time with this team. Next coach. Next quarterback. Next plan. But next never comes because there's no patience, no consistency, no humility. Jimmy Haslam's decision to force Stefanski's hand wasn't about football. It was about control. And now he has it. But what he doesn't have is a functional franchise. He's got a fan base on the edge, a locker room filled with question marks, and a national media that's already labeling this as the latest disaster in a long line of Cleveland collapses. And for what? To say he got his way? To force a quarterback into the spotlight before he was ready? To prove that when it comes to football, he's the smartest guy in the room? Spoiler alert. The smartest guy in the room doesn't fire the only person who had a strategy. Now the Browns are back at square one. Again, searching for a coach. Searching for identity. Hoping Shedeur Sanders can be both quarterback and miracle worker. But that's not how you build a franchise. That's how you burn one down. And yet, buried underneath all the dysfunction, the noise, and the backroom power plays, there's still a sliver of something. Not hope. Not yet. But potential. Because and it's a massive if, the Browns can stop repeating the same mistakes, if they can let Sanders be a quarterback instead of a marketing prop, if they can hire a coach with real authority and let football people make football decisions, then maybe, just maybe, this could be a turning point. But don't hold your breath. Cleveland has had turning points before. They've had fresh starts and new eras and game changers. But every time, the same pattern plays out. The hype builds, the dysfunction creeps in, and eventually it all falls apart. So what's different this time? That's the million-dollar question. Is Shedeur Sanders really the one who can break the curse? Or will he be the latest name added to the long list of quarterbacks who were supposed to fix what no one else could? Time will tell. But until this organization changes from the top down, it won't matter how talented your quarterback is, because talent without structure is a waste. Potential without patience is sabotage. And the Browns? They've made an art form out of squandering both. Kevin Stefanski didn't lose his job because of poor performance. He lost it because he wouldn't play along in the Haslam circus. Because he refused to turn his quarterback room into a publicity stunt. Because he dared to say, we're not ready to throw Shedeur out there yet. And in Cleveland, that's apparently a fireable offense. But what message does that send? When your head coach, your only stable piece in a franchise built on instability, gets booted for not following owner's personal hype agenda, you officially move from dysfunction into delusion. You've told your entire organization that actual football strategy takes a backseat to optics, that it doesn't matter how you win, only how fast it can grab attention. And let's be real, Jimmy Haslam isn't just trying to run a football team. He's trying to craft a spectacle. That's the root of this. He sees the buzz around Shedeur Sanders, the fan chants, the press coverage, and thinks, why wait? Why build? Why develop? When you can just sell hope now. But this isn't college football. You don't win in the NFL by fast-tracking rookies for clout. You win by building infrastructure, by protecting young talent, by trusting your coaching staff to know when a player is ready and when he needs time. And Stefanski knew Sanders wasn't ready yet. That was never a debate about talent. It was about timing. Sanders had a solid college resume. His preseason snaps turned heads. But there's a Grand Canyon-sized difference between preseason flashes and regular season grind, between taking reps against second-string defenders and going up against NFL-caliber defensive schemes. Stefanski knew that. Haslam didn't care. Instead of letting the coach manage the roster, Haslam steamrolled his own football ops and lit the fuse on another season of instability. And what happens if Sanders starts and it goes badly? Let's say he throws a couple of picks, misses some reads, normal rookie stuff. The narrative flips overnight. The media turns. Fans start second-guessing. The pressure mounts. And suddenly, a young quarterback who needed patience is being forced to prove himself immediately under a microscope, with the ghost of his fired coach looming in the background. That's not development. That's sabotage. But if he plays well, if Shedeur lights it up at his debut, that still doesn't justify the process that got us here. Because success doesn't make dysfunction disappear. Winning doesn't erase the fact that the owner crossed a line and publicly undermined his coach. That decision, regardless of how Sanders performs, erodes trust inside an organization. It tells coaches, players, and front office staff that nothing is sacred, that no one's safe. You could be doing everything right, playing the long game, building for real success, and you'll still get fired if you challenge a guy upstairs. And that's the core issue, not the quarterback decision, not the playbook, not even the fans' chants. It's the culture. This franchise is addicted to urgency, addicted to quick fixes, addicted to the idea that the next guy is going to be the one to save them, the next quarterback, the next coach, the next plan. And every time, they burn the current one to the ground before giving it a real chance to work. Shedeur Sanders deserves better than that. The fans deserve better than that. And honestly, so did Stefanski. He tried to bring some sanity to an organization that's been allergic to it for decades. He was the first Browns coach in years to bring a playoff win to the city, to develop players without turning the locker room into a war zone, to bring structure to the chaos. But structure isn't sexy. And Jimmy Haslam wanted fireworks. So he blew it up. And now what? The Browns have no coach, a rookie quarterback under immense pressure, and a fan base split between rage and exhaustion. Some people are celebrating the move. Others are bracing for the next implosion. And the rest? They've just stopped believing anything will change. Because how can you trust a franchise that doesn't even trust itself? Every time the Browns hit the reset button, they act like it's a fresh start. Like this time, it's going to be different. Like the past 2 decades didn't happen. But it did. And until this team learns to stop repeating its mistakes, the script will stay exactly the same. A new face, a new promise, a new disappointment. So, here we are, again. Shedeur Sanders is now the guy. The spotlight is on. The pressure is suffocating. And the people who were supposed to protect him? They're the ones who threw him into the fire. And maybe he makes it out. Maybe he's the exception. Maybe he's the guy who breaks the curse. But if he does, it won't be because of how this franchise handled things. It'll be in spite of it. And that's the real tragedy here. So let's hear your take. Was firing Stefanski a bold move or a disaster in the making? Is Sanders ready to lead this team? Or has the organization already put too much on his shoulders? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button. Because this story, it's only getting messier. And with the Browns, the chaos is always just getting started.